Alright, Weapon Review Episode 12. Let's see what kind of submissions we got. Oh, I'm sure there's some good weapons. Let's take a look. Oh. It's fine. I had some other ones I wanted to talk about anyway. Well, let's start with the viewer-submitted weapons, and then we can get into the ones I want to talk about. Crystal Chunk, 1 out of 10. While dealing more damage than a rock, crystal chunks are way easier to break. Great Axe Plus. Before I rate this one, I'd like to update my rating of the Great Axe itself, from the 4 I originally put it as, to a 7. This weapon, on the other hand, I'd rate at best as a 6.5. The small blades deal almost no damage, while adding a decent bit of weight to the weapon. I understand the concept, it's just not as good as a regular Great Axe. Death Umbrella, 3.5 out of 10. I understand that this is basically a meme weapon, but it's less than some of its parts. Slingshot and Explosives. These were 2 separate submissions, but I can answer them both at once. Weapon Review only talks about weapons in a melee context, and not only can the slingshot not be used in melee, but trying to use dynamite, fireworks, or turabata tiers in melee will just do you more harm than good, as only one of those 3 can deal damage on impact, and it'll damage you as much as, if not more than, your target. I have no idea what to call this one. It's an interesting concept, but in practice, it's not all that amazing. 4.5 out of 10. Training Sword, 0 out of 10. This thing literally deals no damage. Now on to the weapons that I want to talk about. First, this thing. Remember that highest DPS weapon in the game I mentioned at the end of the underrated weapons video? This is it. In terms of ranking, it completely depends on what context it's being used in. In PvE, where the enemies don't move, it's crazy good. Easy 10 out of 10. In PvP, it has the potential for higher DPS than anything else. But because you're fighting another player with lag thrown into the mix, you can rarely hit that theoretical max, and it gets bodied hard by the other high-tier PvP weapons. So for PvP, I'd give it maybe a 6.5 out of 10. Next, Grimdachi. I know I talked about this in episode 10, but there were a few things I didn't mention about it. Most importantly of those, however, is that when you combine the absurd reach, high damage, and ground slam, you get something truly terrifying. Until the devs decide to nerf this thing, or at least elements of it, it's nearly unbeatable in PvP. Finally, the Helicopter Blade. I've mentioned this thing before, but despite being completely stupid and a meme weapon, it's still a phantom guarded greatsword and deserves a 9 or 10. And that's everything. I know in the intro I poked a bit of fun at the people who submitted weapons for this one, but really, thanks for the submissions, guys. With all that said though, I'll see you around.